Hello, glad you could join me. Today I'm going to be doing another one of these sort of tutorial style videos in which I show some techniques about making or forging different things. Today I'm going to be forging some twists or twisting some twists. When I was learning to forge with Bill Carter, something that he would say to me is there are an almost infinite number of ways to do something, to make a thing. And out of that infinite number, there are perhaps 3 or 4 good ways. And so today I'm going to be showing how to forge twists, and I hope that I can show those 3 or 4 good ways. Also, the little bit of fluff on my upper lip is a moustache because I am doing Movember, in which I'm raising some money for men's health, and I'll leave some more details about that at the end of the video. Anyway, let's get into some twisting. So twisting is all about the corners of the piece of stock that we're twisting. So the sharper the corners, the sharper the twist, and the more pronounced the twist will be in the bar. So down here I've got a few different pieces of stock to show the different effects and also to show how corners create the twist. So we've got this 10mm square bar and this 10mm round bar, and we're going to twist both of them just to show how the corners show the twist. So you can see the 10 bar is really sharp, 4 really sharp corners, so we'll be able to see the twist really well. Whereas twisting the round bar, it's round, there's no corners, you think, right, we're not going to be able to see the twist at all. And I'm going to show that just to prove that point, that it's all about the corners. We then have this piece of rectangular bar, 20mm by 5mm, and you can get a really cool effect with twisting flat bar. It looks really cool, so we'll twist that as well. So to do the twisting, we come to the vise so that we can clamp it down at the bottom, and then we get a tool, so such as this tool, which is a monkey wrench or monkey spanner adjustable with an extra bar on, so we got some good torque, even torque as we're twisting. That one I use for twisting flat bar, and then this, which is essentially just a massive tapping wrench, is really useful for twisting any square bar. We're clamping it in the vise, so we get a nice hold on the bottom, then the tool can come in, slide on the top, that's where our heat is in between, and then we twist. So really, when you are doing this process, you want it to be horizontal, so that as you get your tool in, you can twist and you can see it forming much easier, whereas if it's here, you're coming down here and having a look to see if it's even. But obviously, due to where this vise is in the table, it's very central. And so when we're doing a short twist, it's about 6 inches. Even if we're doing a twist that's 6 inches, we're going to hit the table as we're twisting, which is really annoying. So I have to twist vertically, but it's much better to twist horizontally so you can see the twist forming and you can see how even it is, where you need to maybe put a bit of water on to cool it down, or if you have an oxypropane torch, oxyacetylene torch, where you need to heat up so it twists a little bit more. When we are twisting, what we need to do is be pulling away from the vise. So as we pull away, we keep it centralized, so we keep this point in line with the bar as we're putting away pressure on, or upward pressure if we're twisting vertically. That way the twist stays straight and there's less straightening that we have to do once we've finished twisting. That's really key, because in the straightening, what can often happen is you bruise and you put lots of nasty hammer marks in the twist if you're not careful. One way to get about that is to use a rawhide hammer. So a rawhide hammer is literally rawhide in the end of a hammer, or you can use a wooden mallet. This one you can see is really worn down. Usually it'll stick out much further. I just use it a lot because it's really useful to straighten out twists without nicking them up and bruising the edges. So the key to an even twist is an even heat. As if there is an even heat, it's all going to twist at the same time in a nice even fashion. So we've got this 10mm bar, 10mm square bar. Lock it in the vise there. Get our twisting wrench on the top. Tighten it up. Upwards pressure and twist. And obviously I've got to have a look down to see how it is twisting. It's a little bit tighter at the top than the bottom. So we'll just take that off. I'll go quench the top off so we get it twisting a little bit better at the bottom. There we go. To straighten it, we can just use a wooden block and a rawhide mallet. Doesn't need much. And often, you find that you're hitting the end and this end and not the actual twist to try and straighten it. So we've got the round bar next. I'll just clamp it in the vise, and hopefully you can see that when we twist this, it's going to do nothing. I've just squared off the end so I can get the tapping wrench on there. And as we twist, the twist is still being put in there, but it's doing nothing to it really. And if this was a perfectly cylinder bar or rod of steel, there would be nothing in it. It needs a bit of a straighten, obviously. But black mild steel, it's not always perfectly round, so there is a slight twist showing in it, but it's nothing compared to a square bar because the round bar has no corners. Now for the flat bar, I just really like the effect that this creates on a twist. I think it's really cool, and we'll use the spanner rather than the tapping wrench for this, because it's a little bit easier to get onto the flat bar, sorry. You can see there, nice simple 4/4 twist. That's how I tend to count twists. I tend to count them in quarters. So a full rotation is 4/4, and that's generally how I'll count it, just because it makes it a little bit easier to keep track of the twist rather than saying it's a 3.5 twist, or whatever it would be. Right, we have our 3 twists here. We'll look at these 2 to start, and I hope that you can see, with the really sharp corners, you can really see the twist, and on the round bar, you can hardly see it at all. There is a very slight twist on it, but I don't know if you can see it on the camera. And also, using the rawhide mallet, you can see we managed to retain that nice sharp edge without bruising it up, which is really key. You can do a perfect twist, which this one actually isn't. It's a little bit under twisted here, so we've got a little bit cold there, and it was a little bit too hot here. So we've got an over twist there, under twist there. But if you do the perfect twist, you can then ruin it by using just a steel-faced hammer and straightening it just blindly and smashing all of these lovely peaks down. If you've ever seen anybody make twisted Damascus, what a good smith would do is forge their billet out into round bar and then twist it, rather than twisting at a square bar. As you can see, with twisted Damascus, you twist it to get the layers showing, sort of going like that, up the steel like this, and then forge it back down into a billet. And obviously, if you're going to forge these peaks down, you're going to potentially run the risk of forming cold shuts and cracks, which is never a good time. So you would use this technique here that I've tried to show of how a twist is created by the corners of a bar. You use that knowledge to make round bar for twisted Damascus, so you don't run the risk of creating nasty cold shuts. And an interesting side fact was that the Vikings used the pattern welded Damascus steel on their swords, and they would actually twist it not for looks but to create a much stronger sword. So they twisted the layers so that if there was an inclusion in the weld, it would then not be such a bad fault that the sword might snap, as it was then those layers are twisted, giving the blade more strength. A little bit of a side note. Anyway, let's now go back into some more twisting operations and show how we can take twisting and make it even fancier than just doing all of these plain twists. This is the flat bar twist, which I really like. I think that it's a really groovy sort of a thing, almost like a DNA sort of spiral. It's really cool. Although I never really get to use it much in the day-to-day stuff that I forge, but I really like it. Anyway, let's get on to some other types of twists. So I'm going to take these 2 bars of 10mm round and do 2 different twists on them. So one of them is going to be what I would call a rope twist. I've shown this in other videos, but basically we take a round bar, put 4 planes on it, so 4 sides, but we retain a nice rounded corner on each side, and then we cut a line in the middle of each plane. And so those lines then become that reference point, a little bit like the corner of the square bar, that show us the twist as well as the nice radius edges, and you get a really cool effect, I think, on a twist on round bar with a radius edge, as you can almost blend it in on either end. It's really cool. So on the other 10mm bar, what I'm going to be doing is putting those 4 planes on with a nice radius edge, and then we're going to be doing a reverse twist. So I see lots of people do reverse twists on the internet and YouTube and all of that stuff, and I find that they do it just in a weird way that just doesn't look very good, or at least to my eye it doesn't look very good. As often people will put it in a contraption where they have a clamp there, clamp on this end, and then they put their wrench in there and twist it like that. So they only have, one reverse twist, and they get a nasty flat spot in the middle. And the reverse twist should all be about a nice flowing thing. It looks really cool when you get it flowing, rather than it having this nasty flat spot in the middle. It just breaks the twist up. So I'm going to be showing that as well, and I think that's really cool. So if we come over to the anvil, just create our 4 sides. So I don't want to touch the corners at all. I just want to leave them just as a nice rounded edge. We can now take a chisel and come and put our lines on. Your lines want to be fairly deep, not cutting all the way through, but deep enough so that you can see them when you twist it. So twisting doesn't need to be done hot. In fact, on a lot of smaller stuff, what you can do is just normalise the steel, which is bringing it up to a red temperature, cherry red, letting it air cool, and then twist it once it's cold. This way it's a bit like an even heat. Because you've normalised the steel, the structures inside it is all even, they're all normalised. And so when you come to twist it, it's essentially exactly the same as having a nice even heat. And on smaller stuff it can be really useful, like 4mm round and 6mm round. If I'm ever doing braided handles or things like that, you can do it cold, just with normalised steel. So of course twists, also there's 2 ways in which you can twist a twist. That is clockwise and anti-clockwise. Generally I will twist clockwise just naturally, but I'll do an anti-clockwise one now so you can just see how it looks. You can only really, the difference becomes apparent when you put it next to a clockwise twist, but it can be quite cool when you're doing, say, a matching set of 2 fire irons or whatever, and you have the twists going opposite ways. Just sort of makes them a match in a way. This is the rope twist, so we'll do it anti-clockwise, just so we can do a comparison later. Again, we've got it twisting a little bit too fast at the top, so I'll go quench it off. I'll give it a little bit of a straighten, and then we can get onto doing the reverse twist. So for the reverse twist, what we're going to do is twist the top and then gradually bring it out of the vise. As if you try and work from the bottom out, it makes it a little bit harder just to quench off the section that you've done, because you have to scoop up some water and quench off the bar closer to your hand rather than quenching off the bar at the end, which you can just do by dipping it in some water. Also, you've got to keep track of what twist you start on so you know where you're then twisting the next heat. So I'm going to start with a clockwise twist. And it's always better, I think, with this if you just do each one random. You know, don't be defined by how many quarters it needs to be or how tight each twist are. It's good to be nice and random, I think. So that's quite a loose twist. So the next one we can do really tight. You know, it's all random, all free forming. So I've quenched off most of that top twist by the last couple of mil, so that I know it's going to twist nicely into this anti-clockwise one that I'm going to put on, rather than there being a flat spot. We can get it flowing nicely into the next twist. It does take time doing it this way, but it looks much better. So I'll gradually work my way down the bar, doing that technique, and then show it you. So here are these two twists. You can see the rope twist here. And you can get really cool with these and really fancy, and you can even offset the line. So the line is then closer to one side of the bar than the other, and it gives it, again, a different effect when you twist it. I really like these ones with a radius edge. This is what I tend to use a lot of the time in my fire irons and other tools that I make and sell. I'll use a rope twist, as I find that they're really nice to hold as well, because they have that radius edge. And it goes to show that twisting isn't all about the corners, as you can put lines in which then act like another corner, another reference point when you then twist it. So we then have the reverse twist, which you can see there is, again, just a beautiful twist, I think. And you can see how we've got it nicely fading away into the round bar. So it's sort of just a bit hard to tell where the twist ends and the round bar then begins. It's really cool how the twist is really present up here and then gradually fades out towards the back. And you can see there's no flats in between each of the twists. It's always moving. The line is always snaking along. There's no flat spots. So I hope you've learned something from this video, in which I've showed you making a load of different twists. We're doing a couple of different things just to, again, to prove the point that it is the corners. So we twisted that square bar and the round bar to show that it's the corners really that show the twist. And obviously you can do really cool twists with octagonal bar or hexagonal bar if you want to have an experiment with those. And twisting angle iron can be quite cool as well. And then we can also go into cut lines on, so the lines then become almost like another corner, another reference point of which you can see the twist. And then, of course, doing the reverse twist, which is a favourite of mine. I think it's really cool, that nice flowing nature of the reverse twist. Anyway, thank you for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one. So this is going to be the last video in which you see the Tash. This was filmed towards the end of November, whereas it's probably going to be coming out at around mid-December, I don't know, depending on where I am with videos. So it might look a little bit odd that I'm talking about November in the middle of December, but that's because it was filmed at the end of November. Anyway, talking about the Tash, I'm going to leave a link down below to my donations page, where if you want to go and make a donation to go towards men's health, all that money is going to go towards the people who need it. So I'll be very grateful if you did donate anything, but it's down there if you want to. So thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you on the next one, but without the Tash.